Join me as I dive into the shocking GST changes for new home buyers in Canada and see if we can navigate this confusing maze.
Canada's $50,000 new home GST credit, what you need to know. So, that $50,000 the government is talking about for new home buyers. Sounds pretty amazing, especially in Canada's crazy housing market, right? But what if that dream is hiding some serious headaches with hidden costs and tricky market turns? What if that 50 grand isn't quite the golden ticket it seems? We're about to lift the lid on Canada's new GST rebate for first-time home buyers, and honestly, what you find out might just change how you look at this whole thing. This isn't just about getting some cash back, it's about what a new home in Canada really costs. The carrot, the good news, the promise. Alright, let's break down what the government is offering. To try and help with housing affordability, they've introduced a pretty big incentive. The first-time home buyers GST rebate. Basically, this program aims to get rid of the goods and services tax, GST, for eligible first-time buyers purchasing brand new homes. If you're looking at a new home up to $1 million, this could mean a 100% GST rebate, saving you up to $50,000. If the home is priced between $1 million and $1.5 million, that rebate starts to shrink. And if it's over $1.5 million, unfortunately, no rebate for you. The idea here is twofold. First, it's to help lower those eye-watering upfront costs for Canadians trying to buy their very first home. Saving $50,000 can make a massive difference for your down payment or closing costs. Some reports even suggest this could trim your monthly mortgage payments by as much as $240 on $1 million place. Second, the government is hoping this pushes builders to construct more new homes across the country, adding more supply to a market that's desperate for it. They figure this whole thing will save Canadians about $3.9 billion in taxes over the next 5 years. So, who actually gets this? Generally, you need to be a first-time home buyer, 18 or older, and a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. And here's a key bit. Neither you nor your spouse or common law partner can have owned a home in the current year or the 4 years before. The rebate applies to newly built homes you buy from a builder, homes you build yourself, and even shares in a co-op, as long as it's going to be your main home and you're the first person to live in it. The sales agreement has to be signed on or after May 27, 2025, but before 2031. Plus, construction needs to start before 2031, and the home has to be pretty much finished before 2036. On paper, this sounds incredible, doesn't it? A $50,000 boost from the government seems like exactly what first-time buyers have been waiting for. It's definitely being sold as a fast track to homeownership. And for a lot of people, it really could be a huge help. You can see why people are excited. The but, the twist, the agitation, the hidden secret. But hold on. Before you start picking out furniture and sending out housewarming invites thinking you've got an extra $50,000 in your pocket, we need to chat. There's another side to this shiny new rebate that you're probably not hearing much about. This is the secret part, where that sweet deal can start to go a bit sideways if you're not looking closely. Potential problem. 1. Developers just might pocket the difference. Think about it. Builders and developers are running businesses. They need to make a profit. When a program like this suddenly gives a specific group of buyers up to $50,000 more buying power, what's to stop some developers from just bumping up their base prices? In a market with sky-high demand and not enough homes to go around, which is basically the Canadian housing story, builders know that buyers, now armed with this rebate, might be willing to pay more. So, that $50,000 you thought you were saving from the government could sneakily end up in the developer's bank account, not yours. A report from Desjardins actually warned about this, saying some developers might raise their prices because they see this extra buying power coming, which would pretty much cancel out the affordability boost. It's simple economics. If everyone suddenly has an extra $50,000 to spend on something there isn't much of, the price of that thing is probably going to go up. Potential problem 2, the demand spike and price inflation. This rebate is specifically for first-time home buyers buying new homes. Targeting it like this could cause a massive rush of demand for these specific properties. Economists have pointed out that this sudden wave of eligible buyers, all keen to grab the rebate, could temporarily push new home prices even higher, especially in already expensive markets like Toronto and Vancouver. If there are way more buyers than available new homes that fit the price criteria, up to $1 million for the full rebate, then phasing out by $1.5 million. Prices will climb. So, while you get a rebate, the starting price of the home might already be puffed up because everyone else is also trying to get that rebate. Desjardins flagged this risk too, suggesting that in the short term, the policy might just inflate prices or dry up inventory if we don't also build a lot more homes fast. Potential problem 3, supply. The never-ending crisis. This is the big one, isn't it? The main problem with Canadian housing is that we just don't have enough of it. While this GST rebate is meant to get people buying and encourage new construction, building homes takes time, a long time. We've got red tape, not enough skilled workers, and high construction costs already slowing things down. If we don't see a huge and quick increase in new homes to meet this new rebate-fueled demand, then we're right back where we started. Too much money, chasing too few homes. That always means higher prices, which could eat up or even totally wipe out the benefit of the GST rebate. Experts have been saying for ages that unless we also find ways to seriously speed up home building, this rebate won't do as much as we hope. Paul Smetanin from the Canadian Centre for Economic Analysis put it bluntly. Canada's housing problem is about supply and needs supply solutions, and this rebate might just give developers a chance to make more profit. Potential problem 4, market twists and who really wins in the end? The rebate is super specific. First-time buyers, new builds. This could shake up the wider market in some interesting and maybe not so great ways. For example, what happens to older homes? Will fewer first-time buyers be interested in them if they're all chasing new constructions? And what about people who already own homes or are investors? They don't get this particular incentive, which could split the market in new ways. And on a deeper level, who's really going to benefit the most from this? Is it genuinely the first-time home buyer, or do developers and people who own land end up making more in the long run as land values and new home prices potentially go up? If the cost of building materials and paying workers also rises because of more demand, another thing economists are worried about, then the actual savings for the buyer could shrink even more. Potential problem 5, the fine print, who qualifies, what are the limits, and when. And then, of course, there's the fine print. The definition of a first-time home buyer is pretty strict. You or your spouse partner can't have owned a home in the current calendar year or the 4 years before that. The home has to be your main place to live, and you've got to be the very first person to occupy it. It only applies to purchase agreements signed after May 26, 2025. So if you signed a deal before this date, even if you were hoping to get the rebate based on earlier talk, you probably won't qualify. There are also rules about things like assignment sales and trying to cancel old agreements to sign new ones just to get the rebate. Usually that won't work. Also, think about those price caps. The full rebate is for homes up to $1 million, and it phases out by $1.5 million. While that covers a lot of new homes across the country, Desjardins thinks nearly 85%, in super pricey markets like Vancouver, a smaller slice of new builds might actually get you the full rebate. They estimate about 75% would qualify for full or partial relief in Vancouver. This means buyers in the most expensive cities might still have to pay a hefty chunk of GST or find their choices are pretty limited if they want to max out the rebate. So, the secret isn't some big government conspiracy. It's just the messy reality that even a well-meaning government program can have some unexpected results when it bumps up against the powerful forces of the housing market. That $50,000 carrot is definitely real, but so are the potential snags. Elaboration and evidence deeper dive. Let's try to put some numbers on this. Imagine a developer lists a new condo. Before all this rebate talk, maybe it was priced at $700,000 plus GST. After the rebate is announced, giving a first-time buyer up to $35,000 back on that GST, which is 5% of $700,000, the developer might spot an opportunity. What if they now list that same condo, or one very much like it, for $720,000 plus GST? The buyer still feels like they're getting a deal because of the rebate. The rebate on $720,000 would be $36,000. So the buyer pays no net GST. But hang on, the base price just went up by $20,000. The government pays out $36,000, the developer makes an extra $20,000, and the buyer saves on GST but actually pays a higher sticker price. This is just an example, of course, but it shows how that benefit can shift around. The psychological effect is also huge. A headline saying save $50,000 is incredibly tempting. It can create a real sense of urgency, that fear of missing out, FOMO. And that could push some buyers to jump into decisions without really thinking through all the angles, or whether that particular property is truly the right fit for them, beyond just getting the rebate. This isn't to say the rebate is a bad idea, but it definitely adds another layer of stress to what's already a massive decision. You know, the old GST, HST new housing rebate, which this new one is building on for first-time buyers, had limits that just didn't keep up with how fast home prices shot up. For instance, the old federal rebate started to disappear for homes over $350,000 and was completely gone by $450,000. A price that's almost laughably low for new builds in many Canadian cities today. While these new $1 million to $1.5 million limits are much more realistic, the basic issue of price caps getting eroded by market inflation is still there. Desjardins even suggested that this new policy should tie the price of qualifying homes to inflation so it doesn't lose its punch over time. It's also interesting that the federal government and the Parliamentary Budget Officer have different predictions for how much this rebate program will actually cost. The government says $3.9 billion over 5 years, while the PBO thinks it's closer to $2 billion. Desjardins pointed out this difference could mean the government is expecting a much bigger surge in home buying and construction. But what if that surge mostly just drives up prices instead of actually getting more homes built? Look, this isn't about trying to scare you. It's about going into this with your eyes open. The dream of owning a home is a big one, and policies that try to help are generally a good thing. But the road to that dream is rarely as simple as just getting a rebate. Finding this breakdown helpful? If you want to stay on top of what's happening in Canadian real estate and personal finance, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And make sure to subscribe for more deep dives like this one. Now, I'm really curious. What are your biggest worries or questions about this new GST rebate? Drop them in the comments below. Actionable advice, what viewers should do, the solution, takeaway. Okay, so we've looked at the exciting promise and some of the not so exciting potential problems. This doesn't mean you should just ignore the GST rebate. For many people, it will still be a really valuable boost. But it does mean you need to be smart, strategic, and super careful. Here's what you absolutely need to do. Tip 1, check out pre-construction pricing like a detective. This one's tricky, but so important. Try to find out what similar newly built units from the same developer or in the same area were selling for before. This rebate became big news. Think before late March 2025. even though the actual legislation came out May 27, 2025. Are the current post-rebate prices noticeably higher, possibly eating into what you thought you'd save? Ask the tough questions. Don't just look at the final price after the rebate, dig into that base price. Tip 2. Don't let the rebate make you forget other costs. A $50,000 rebate sounds amazing, but it's only one part of the money puzzle. Don't forget all the other closing costs, land transfer taxes, though first-time buyers might get a break on this in some provinces, lawyer fees, appraisal fees, maybe mortgage default insurance if your down payment is under 20%, plus all the initial costs of furnishing and moving in. Make sure the rebate isn't tricking you into stretching your budget too thin everywhere else. Budget for all those hidden costs that come with buying and owning a home. Tip 3. Get your own independent expert advice. Talk to a mortgage broker you trust and make sure they're independent, not one connected to the developer. They can help you figure out what you can truly afford and sort out the financing. And this is critical. Talk to a real estate lawyer who really knows their stuff about new construction contracts and this specific GST rebate. They can go through the purchase agreement with a fine-tooth comb, look for any clauses about the rebate, and make sure your best interests are protected. Tip 4. Look at the market and your own timing, rebate aside. Is this actually the right time for you to buy a new home? Don't let the appeal of the rebate rush you into a decision if other things about the market or your personal situation suggest you should wait. Think about the overall market. For example, some reports mentioned a cooling condo market in Toronto in early 2025, which might mean there are good deals to be had even before you factor in the rebate. The Canadian Real Estate Association, CREA, has also adjusted its forecast for 2025, noting that sales are slowing and prices are calming down in some areas because of general economic uncertainty. Tip 5. Read every single word of your purchase agreement about the rebate. You need to understand exactly how the rebate will be handled. Will the builder credit it directly when you buy, meaning you need less cash up front? Or will you have to pay the full GST and then apply to the Canada Revenue Agency, CRA, to get the rebate back after you close? Know the process, the timelines, and who's responsible for what. Make sure the agreement clearly spells out all the terms. Tip 6. Understand the bigger picture. It's all about supply. While this isn't something you can directly do for your own purchase, understanding that the real long-term fix for housing affordability is building more homes can help you see the bigger picture. Support policies and ideas that aim to make building easier, deal with worker shortages, and open up more land for different kinds of housing. The more you know as a citizen, the better. The main thing to remember here is to approach this GST rebate with what I call cautious optimism. It's a tool, and it could be a really helpful one, but it's not a magic fix. Your best protection is knowledge, doing your homework, and keeping a healthy bit of skepticism. Conclusion, summary, and final thoughts. So, about Canada's $50,000 new home GST secret. It's not that the government is trying to trick anyone. The rebate is a real attempt to help out first-time home buyers. The secret is really about the complicated dance between government programs and the often wild and unpredictable Canadian housing market. That potential $50,000 saving is incredibly tempting, and yes, it could make the dream of owning a new home come true for many. But, as we've talked about, there are some real questions about whether buyers will always get the full benefit or if some of it will just get swallowed up by higher prices, especially if we don't start building enough homes to keep up with the new demand this rebate might create. Having this rebate doesn't change the most important advice for anyone buying a home. Do your homework. Be thorough. Ask the awkward questions. Don't get carried away by the excitement. This rebate is just one of many things to think about when you're making one of the biggest money decisions of your life. Ultimately, the power to make a smart choice is in your hands. Understand the program, understand the risks, and understand your own financial situation. That $50,000 could be an amazing head start, but only if you go into it with your eyes wide open. Want more insights into the Canadian real estate market and personal finance strategies that actually get results? Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. And if you're wondering what other costs you need to watch out for when buying, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching, and remember to arm yourself with knowledge.